Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where in the world you are. My name's Max Simon, and I'm so grateful to be with you here today. Can you guys hear me okay? Why don't you just go ahead and say yes and maybe even say who's here right now if you can hear me fine. Hi, Kylis and Kalis, did I say that right? Liz, Aline, beautiful. Stacy, good morning. Theodisa, great. Hi, Idri from Seattle. Beautiful. From the Bahamas. That's cool. Nice to be with you here from the Bahamas. Yeah, where's everybody from? Where's everybody from? That's Colorado, Bahamas, New York City, South Carolina, Connecticut. Cool. Oregon. Isn't that amazing? I'm always so blown away by how globally connected we are today and how powerful that can be to be able to speak to so many people all over the world all at the same time. I'm here in Ojai, California. I got some people from England and Romania, South Florida, Minnesota, San Francisco. Hey, Donna from Michigan, Israel. Yeah. Pretty amazing. I don't know. I find that pretty spectacular. And welcome to this training today. There's really just such a pure intention to be in service to you and to create an experience for you here today that allows you to experience more of what you desire. I've been really in this deep spiritual inquiry over the last few months in my own life. For those of you that don't know this, I'm a very devout meditator and meditate for hours every day, and just recently went and did another silent meditation retreat where I spent 5 days in complete silence, unplugged from the world. And I take that time because I'm in this quest to discover what is the way to make life most meaningful. I think one of the downfalls of the business and marketing world, which we play in, interestingly enough, I find sometimes, which is interesting, is that it's so focused on these external results. It's focused on making money. It's focused on creating a good brand. It's focused on doing something in the world that we think is going to make an impact, oftentimes because we want the recognition and we want to stand out from the crowd. And that's all good. Those can be very valuable experiences. But as somebody who has, made millions of dollars and has become well recognized and has, generated huge sums of money and all that kind of thing, I find that if the dialogue is only exclusively focused on the external results without an equal amount of attention on what really makes you feel fulfilled, what really makes you feel alive, what really brings that level of meaning and purpose into your life, that you get very bored with the external. And simultaneously, if you're always just focused on the internal side of things, on how it feels, and yet your outer world is collapsing, you're not able to provide enough financial security or stability for your life, then it also is out of balance. And so what we intend to always do here at Big Vision Business is to bring these worlds together, where you are doing the kind of inner discovery that creates aliveness, fulfillment, meaning, love in your heart, and providing the outer strategy, the outer direction, so that you actually can kind of get the results you're looking for and achieve the things you're trying to do with the least amount of effort and struggle. And so I figured that as I thought about what we could do, just as a bonus for you, this is purely in service to you, we wanted to create a training called How to Make Your Work More Meaningful and Prosperous. How to bring these two worlds together and show you what we've learned after coaching and training literally thousands and thousands and thousands of people, and then of course what we've learned through our own journey. So what we'll do today is a again, I'll give you this powerful training to make your work and life more meaningful and prosperous, and share with you what I've learned and how to bring these two things together in the simplest way possible. We're going to announce the winner of the $1,000 cash prize. Now, I don't know if you remember this or not, but with Money Breakthrough Challenge, we said that if you completed every day of the challenge, did all 21 days, and then you had some real breakthroughs and you communicated to us what that was, we would put all those people into a drawing. I think there was almost, I think we said there was almost 300 people or so that at least entered into the drawing. And we'll announce the winner of that today. I'll also take some time to answer your questions, just to respond and do everything in my power to have you leave this training today really clear and really empowered. And then I will very gently but lovingly nudge you to sign up for Enlightened Business Live, particularly right now with the first wave tickets open, which is our new live event. And I'll just spend a few minutes talking about that. And that'll be our sweet, straightforward agenda for today. That said, how many of you are saying, I hope it's me. I spend a lot of time thinking about why people struggle because, quite frankly, this is what I think is my mission on this planet, is to make your life more fluid, make your life more effortless. And in the context of your work, which is where so many people struggle, there's some really crazy statistics about how many people are unhappy in their work or in their financial state, that I've kind of boiled this down to one of the reasons why people struggle is that they're driven by goals you don't really care about. That it's very easy to think you want to make a lot more money, or that you want to, become well known in the world. And I often challenge this for people to ask the question, are you sure that's what you really care about? Is that really the truth of what you're seeking? And almost 99.9% of the time, if I'm in front of somebody or speaking at a live event, and I challenge people to go deeper into this, what they're saying they want is not what they really want. What they're putting their time and attention on is not really what's most important to them. And so the first reason why people struggle is they don't even know what's really true, what's really motivating them forward, what their real aspirations are in their life and in their business. The second reason why people struggle is that oftentimes they're trying to do something or build a business based upon the people that, and don't really care about, is probably not the right way of phrasing it. I would say is they don't love. They're not focusing their time and attention on helping and serving the people that they love the most. And what I mean by that is that you oftentimes are trying to help people who really need it, but not necessarily the ones who really want it. And the problem with that is the ones who really need it don't even necessarily know that they really need it yet. So maybe they are very whiny, or maybe they're very stubborn or very stuck, and there's not a real hunger from them to step forward, to invite your help, your support, your energy into their life. And there's a really powerful shift that happens when you decide to stop trying to serve, speak to, help the people that maybe are difficult to work with, and just communicate, reach out to, and support those who you care about the most. And the people you care about the most are the ones that are open and hungry and willing. So a lot of people struggle because they're not actually serving or focused on serving the people in their business that they most desire to serve. And then, of course, a lot of times people's relationships are also not very strong, whether that's their working relationships. I find all the time people put up with so much between the people they work with that they don't really feel that aligned with. If you come to Enlightened Business Live, you'll get to meet our entire Big Vision Business team, and you'll see the difference when you are surrounded by people that are just aligned mentally, energetically, spiritually. And this comes from you putting a stake in the ground and realizing that you don't have to be surrounded by people that are not aligned with your vision of the world. And that includes not only your business, but it includes your interpersonal relationships as well. And that people often struggle because they spend a lot of time with, or they put up with, people that are not aligned. And then finally, a lot of times people are doing a lot of stuff they don't love, and it's because they're not clear on what it is that they really love. They're not clear on what it is they really enjoy doing. And the problem is that most people, they have no end in sight. There's no real deep inquiry happening around what will allow you to shift this energetic. So let me take a moment to pause and see, is this accurate in some way, shape, or form for you? Or is there something here in this, even if it's one piece, that feels like it is accurate to where you are? Yeah, very much so. Yes, sure, yes. Yeah, okay, good. Now, as I said, I think about this a lot, probably every single day, actually. Not probably. I think about it every single day. And what I discovered is that work becomes meaningful when you simply focus your attention on doing the opposite of these things. That you create a vision that you care about. That there's something you're doing that really feels like a deeper calling. Now, let me give you a personal example of that. A lot of times people ask me to speak at events or on, stages or that kind of thing, and they want me to speak about marketing, because we are very well skilled in marketing. And they introduce me as a marketing guy. Here's somebody that knows how to do great marketing and can teach you how to do great marketing. And that's fine. I have no objection to that necessarily. But I don't care about marketing as a topic. I don't care about even business as a topic. What I care about is helping people to take who they are, this energy that they have inside, and translate that into a vehicle of service that impacts the world. And I just so happen to have realized that this terminology, what society has deemed as marketing, is a great way of doing it. And I care so deeply about helping people who have this energy inside of them to actually focus it out into the world, that's everything my business does. That's what Big Vision Business is meaningful about. And why this is such an important mission to me is because this has always been what I have struggled with the most energetically inside of myself. I've always had this intense desire to take my life, my experience in the world, and do something of great meaning with it that contributes to others. And I struggled, and I still continue to struggle in a lot of ways with this. And because this is my life path that's most meaningful to me, most aligned and most true with where I'm at, this is why I've cultivated a big vision and ultimately a Big Vision business to do that. The second, as I said, is that you are serving a tribe you care about. It's a tribe you really are focused on. It's a tribe that you believe has the capacity to take the knowledge and wisdom that you have and actually utilize it to serve and support their life. I was sitting down with a friend of mine recently, and as I always do, I ask people what's most meaningful to them. And they said, I love when I attract the kind of clients that are just ready to completely open up to God. He's in a spiritual track. And that I can see that moment when they recognize that they are God and that they really can experience that profound shift in reality. And it reminded me of that same resonance that is why I'm here speaking to you, that I can sense and feel when there's an awakening into what's really most true and what's most alive, and that only comes by speaking to a group of people that are interested in it, that are really here interested in it. And of course, having a team that you love that supports you, which is a huge focus here at Big Vision Business, not only creating our team to be stronger, but training entrepreneurs to be that much better. And again, my only takeaway from you today around this is to be unwilling to settle. Even if you think you don't have the money, even if you think you don't have the experience, to understand that settling for being surrounded or even connected to people who are unaligned with what you're doing is a huge disservice, and it is energetically drawing you way down. Playing in your genius zone, this is something we're going to talk about in depth today, is actually finding what you do that you're great at, what you love doing, and what contributes to the world. And doing all of this, and here's really what I think is the most significant, without worrying so much about the end game. Now, we set goals and we create business plans and we utilize those structures in our business, and they're important because they provide some structure and some direction. But particularly myself, one of the main shifts that I've been making in the last year or so is to just do everything with the strongest intention to serve. Do everything with the strongest intention to have it be as clean and powerful and useful as possible. And that's not an end game. That is an intention that becomes maintained throughout everything that we do. And by doing that, it does get better results. But so many people today, especially in business, are so focused on where they're trying to get to that the energy that they bring to what they're doing and how they feel right now is lost. So we're going to work on this today, of these components of making your life meaningful. Now, I just want to say this. What I believe is the most important thing is that work becomes the platform for your own growth, expansion, and service in the world. You see, when you take on the kind of style of business that we do here at Big Vision Business and what we're training you to do and what we hopefully will allow to go much deeper with you in, you realize that it's not just about learning a few strategies and tactics. It's about you stepping into the greatest version of yourself. And that might look like making tremendously difficult decisions. That looks like you making leaps of faith to step forward even when you don't know how it's going to turn out. And it looks like you becoming an exceptional model of what's possible. So that your life is an embodiment of a visionary. Not just because I have so many friends, they are very successful, but they work 70, 80 hours a week. Their relationships are struggling. Their health is out of balance. And that, to me, is not a good model of what's possible. That you have to be equally as focused on designing your life so that it nurtures your soul and nurtures your family and nurtures what's most real outside of just work. That's why we really do what we do, is to help you craft this vision of what's possible. So, let's talk about when we are most fulfilled. Let's get into the context of when we are most fulfilled. And let me also take a moment to just say here, as we're going through this, when you hear something that maybe you could ask for some clarification on, or you need to ask some questions about your own particular life, go ahead and write it down and we'll go through that at the end. We are most fulfilled when we are clear on what's most important, which, for the sake of this dialogue, I'm going to label as your values. There's more to it than that, but we're going to call them your values. And we're focusing the vast majority of our time on energy on living those values. That when it comes down to it, what makes us most fulfilled is when we know what is fulfilling to us uniquely, and we're focusing our time and energy on that. And so I came up with this little fulfillment and meaning formula, which I'll say that today's training is not necessarily going to be the end all. Today's training is meant to open up an inquiry inside of yourself, a place to contemplate, so that you can clarify what this looks like for you. I can't just tell you who you are. I can't tell you what your genius zone. I can't tell you what it looks like to contribute to the world in this short hour-long training. I can simply give you the framework to inquire deeply inside of yourself what will allow you to find the answers to this. So here's the formula. To get clear on who you are, to play in your genius zone doing what you love to do, and to funnel that energy so that it contributes to the world. This is what makes people happy. So what's most important to you? And I deem these as your values. And I want you to take a moment right now to actually brainstorm what this looks like. For example, values can be impacting the world. They can be your family. They can be your health. They can be security, a sense of security, stability. They can be adventure. It can be contribution, making a difference, spirituality. These are different examples of values. So I want you to take a moment right now and just ask yourself the question and write down, what do you value the most? What do you value the most? And when you have a list of these values, you'll just sit down and write them all out. Everything you can think of. What do I value? What do I value? What you're going to do is something called the A/B test. So you'll dump all of your values out, and I want you to just narrow down to your top 5. And the A/B test says, if I was to pick between A or B, I would pick A. And then you take that same A and you move to the next one. If I was to pick between A or C, I guess, I would pick C. Okay, move C to D. And you just keep going until you have kind of selectively said, all right, this is my number one top value. Then you go back and do it again. So then what's my second one? This or this, this or this, this or this. And when you have your top 5, go ahead and share them with me right below. I'll give you an example of what mine are. I did this exercise. I do this regularly. My top 5 values are consciousness, which is really living from an awakened state, making really conscious choices in my life and focusing on feeling unified with everything that is. My second value is health. Taking great care of myself, because I just notice when I'm not taking impeccable care of myself, I feel pretty terrible, and it actually deflates my consciousness. My third is contribution, doing things that positively impact other people's lives. My fourth is cultivating a real deep sense of love, where I'm caring deeply and having real relationships. And my fifth is self-growth, where I'm always in a space of learning and growing and evolving, and I'm perpetually looking at my own experience in life and asking the question, how does it continue to evolve in alignment with these values? So these are my top 5 values. Let me see if any of you have... I'm going to see if you guys have some stuff here. Genevieve's top values are family, health, spirituality, contribution, and self-growth. Sounds very familiar. I like it very much. So some of you are putting in like one value, and I encourage you to go deeper. It's not true that you only have one thing that you value, because you can have this one thing, but if you don't have something else, you might actually feel really incomplete. Stacy says family, security, honor, health, and helping. Good. Yeah, so Erica says you haven't mentioned financial comfort because you already have that. And, you know, what I've found is that it's not the most important thing to me. And it might be for you. That's the point of these values, is to really come to terms with what's most significant to you. Because you see, I used to put that as an example. I used to put financial security or financial abundance was most important to me, until I realized that whenever I have money, all I do is invest it back into the businesses that I have to develop more contribution. That I'm not a good saver. And, you know, people could judge me for that and say that's not the right thing to do, but it's not what's most important to me. What's most important to me is having enough so that I can take the time to work on my consciousness, that I take great care of myself, and that I contribute. You know, love and self-growth have nothing to do with money. And so most of the vast majority of my money, because it's most important, goes back into building this business that can contribute to the world in a bigger way. So that's why it's important to get clear on these things, because as you get clear on these values, that's the point. you have an opportunity to start analyzing whether or not the actions you're taking are aligned with what's most important to you. Yeah. All right, good. So many of you have started to define what this looks like for you, your values. So, I'll say it before I go here. All right, so many of you have started to design what your values look like. And the next question then that oftentimes arises in people is, great, so I now am starting to get clearer on what's important to me, but what do I do with that? And to me, that the second part of this equation is what we call your genius zone. And you'll see how this starts to come together. So just follow me here for a moment. The next thing I would ask you to start to brainstorm is, what comes naturally and easy to you that you love doing? That's the great question. What comes naturally and easy to you that you also love doing? So, for example, that could be things like writing words that people resonate with, or being a great support system when people are struggling, or organizing information, right? These are all examples of things that people have told me that it's really easy for them. For example, it's very easy for me to coach somebody on evolving their life forward. Like, I can sit down with somebody without any preparation and within 10 minutes be crystal clear on what kind of life directions to go in. Very easy for me. So that's an example of something that comes naturally to me that I also love doing. And I want you to do a brain dump for a moment. And then you organize them into themes. So I'll show you what that means but as we're going through this, just take a moment to dump it all out. So here's an example of my brain dump. I'm great at creating good content. I'm good at merging and bringing spirituality into business, staying balanced and healthy. I have a rock solid meditation practice that I have for years. I am impeccable at following my intuition. I'm good at making offers and selling things that convert. I'm really exceptional at building great teams that play together well. I'm good at being honest and open and kind of vulnerable with people. I'm great at doing my own inner work and inquiring into what's happening inside of me so I can get clarity on what that looks like. I make a lot of mistakes. I do a lot of things wrong, and I'm good at bouncing back quickly. I'm good at genuinely caring about people and creating live events and admitting what I don't know and getting help, laughing at my own mistakes. These are just examples of things that I'm good at. And you can see that some of this stuff is like really relevant to quote unquote business, but some of the stuff is not, like laughing at my own mistakes or doing my inner work. And I say it's not because it's not overtly obvious, but it actually is very important for you to simply start to become aware of what is it that you do that's natural and easy to you that you also kind of enjoy. Like, I like laughing at my own mistakes, and I like admitting what I don't know and getting help. And these are the kind of things that I enjoy doing. And you'll start to see how this comes together. Good. So, what I want you to do is to start to look at themes. So, for example, if I look at all of my stuff, there's 3 themes. There's business, spirituality, and wellness. And there's also this theme of desiring to really help people grow and evolve. There's this theme of caring for myself, caring for the people around me, caring for my employees, my team. And then there's a real kind of common thread of creating a life of meaning and depth. And so what you want to do is you look through all of your different genius zone brain dumps, all of the things that you do that are good, you're good at, come naturally to you. Just start to ask the question, what are the themes here? Maybe it's about, being creative. Maybe it's a theme about raising consciousness. Maybe it's a theme about, really high quality. Maybe it's a theme about creating structure. What you do is you just start to look through all these lists of things that you're good at and come naturally to you and start to develop some themes. And for me, what happens when I start to look at my themes is I start to all of a sudden have a measuring stick, if you will, a guidepost for how well I'm living my life. Is what I'm doing focused on bringing these things together? Is my life merging all of this into one picture? So as an example, you look at Big Vision Business. Well, we are good at many of the things that are important to business. I'm good at building teams. I'm good at making offers that inspire people forward. I'm good at coaching and communicating the value of what we do. I also have this spiritual undertone, and I often felt like in the business training world, there wasn't nearly enough authentic spirituality. It was talked about as kind of a cliche term like, be more spiritual in your business. But when it came down to it, there wasn't that real deep, unwavering sense of consciousness percolating through everything that was happening, really looking at what was true. And then also the wellness thing of actually creating a business that honors your lifestyle, actually creating a business that gives you freedom, actually learning how to take great care of yourself. And when you look at these themes, you start to see how Big Vision Business came together to support these themes of what I feel most called to do, what I'm most passionate about, what I'm most aligned with, and also it allows me then to speak to a tribe of people who are just like me. I imagine if you're here, you resonate with what we do because you are aligned with the bigger vision of what we see for life as well. And we don't appeal to everybody. There's a lot of people that could care less about spirituality or don't really put any attention on wellness. They're only focused on growing their business. There's plenty of people who are very beautifully spiritual but have no desire to turn that into something that they're using as a business or to contribute to the world, right? And it's important to understand how these themes really start to delineate into a clear path for you to do what's most meaningful, and also to do it in a way that makes you unique, makes you stand out, makes you really respected for doing something special in the world. Is this making sense to you guys? Yeah. Yeah, good. All right. So the next question that I start to ask myself, and oftentimes my clients, is then how do you actually start to package this? What do you do to take this insight and begin to translate it into something that allows you to contribute? And for example, when you're creating a new product, you start to look at how does this stuff all get brought into the equation so that it really brings my unique talents and skills into my business, and also speaks to people in a unique way that maybe they're not being received or heard from, right? So this becomes the basis for how you create products. It can also be with just when you communicate the content. We always try with our videos and our emails and our newsletters and our webinars and even stuff like this to bring these energies into everything that we're doing. But it can also just be in relationship. Like maybe you're here, maybe you're not a business owner, maybe you're an independent contractor, maybe you're even an employee. That doesn't mean that you have to go create something totally new to live these values. You can do it with your team members or your employees. You can do it with your family. One of the greatest things I learned about meaning and purpose came from my mom, who said, I spent all these years, she was a transcendental meditation teacher, and is still a transcendental meditation teacher. And she loves it. She's very passionate about it. But she realized when she had me that the greatest contribution she could make was really being a great mother to me. And that all of the things that she loved, like spirituality, like health and well-being, like being authentic and honest, all those things, those values that were most important and what she was good at, she could provide to me and she could support me in. And that was how she wanted to give back to the world. And ultimately, it's been great because my path has been to play on this large global scale, but so much of it is my mother's contributions. right? And you can also do it in the ways of community. So you start to look at, all right, who could benefit from this knowledge? Who could really utilize this genius zone that I have? Oh, sorry. And by looking at who can receive it, who is hungry for it, who's most open for it, then all of a sudden you start to see how all these pieces come together, where you're clear on how you need to live your life. What is your personal values, and are you living it with full integrity? And if not, the inquiry for you to bring into your awareness is, what needs to shift? What do I need to change? What do I need to do differently in order to live these values fully? And then you start to think of, now that I'm starting to get a guidepost for how I live my life, what is it that I do that really is easy and enjoyable for me that also can contribute to others? What do I do that I feel is really special to me? And sometimes people get really fantastic at judging themselves and saying it's not that special, which I've done many times before myself as well. But it's important to understand and acknowledge that what comes easy to you doesn't necessarily come easy to anybody else. That what is a natural gift of yours is something that millions of people struggle with. Bless me. And by acknowledging that this thing that is kind of a natural gift of yours, even if it's not what you are doing for work at the moment, or it's not what you are focused on, is in fact something that can be channeled and developed to contribute to the world, it's an important step for you to take. And the more aligned that you become with focusing your energy on this genius zone, the more you start to feel that sense of creativity and purpose pulsating through your veins. And then you ask the third step of, who's really best for this? And how does it actually specifically show up in my world? How do I utilize this to contribute? And again, I would say that this inquiry is not something that you will just say, it's this and this and this and this and done. It's an inquiry. It's a process for you to digest and allow it to transpire inside of you, unfold inside of you. But now that you have this structure, it should allow you to ask the right questions and to pay attention. You know, I was once told that if you sit down and you write down 10 things that you feel like you're great at, and you go to somebody that knows that's in your life, and you just say to them, this is a good exercise, I did this myself. You say to them, hey, I want you to tell me who this describes. Okay, you may or may not know them directly, but I want you to tell me who this describes. And you read off your list, not saying, I am creative, I am extremely creative. But you say, this person is unbelievably creative and always is coming up with new ideas. This person is, really willing to jump in and help out when somebody's in need. And you go through and describe this thing, and then you ask them at the end, so who do you think this is? They should roll their eyes at you and say, duh, it's you. And usually then I ask them the same question, which is, how did you know? And they said, I knew within the first 2 or 3 that this was you. Because oftentimes the things that we do, that we're great at, that we're really in flow with, we don't see how clearly other people see the value of it and acknowledge it in us. And by doing that, it allows you to acknowledge as well how you can focus more of your time and energy on these things exclusively, right? So in summary, when you determine the criteria by how you want to live, which is your values, and you see your genius zone and how you can grow to be even better at it, And then you start sharing your gifts with others and making an impact. Your work, your life, feels deeply meaningful and fulfilling. And I'll share with you that this is where the money comes from. When you become best in the world at doing what you do. So as an example, again, with Big Vision Business, I think that we are still in the process of becoming the best in the world at training people, these entrepreneurs that are just like me and everybody on our team, to create businesses that impact the world and create real freedom for doing it. That's where the money comes in from, because you create things that are so alive and so powerful and so on point that people desire them. And as we continue to progress, we focus less and less on the money and more on the richness of the experience. Right? So this is what I'd invite you all to do today, is to really go through this process and inquire into the truth of what is real and alive for you. So here's your homework specifically. Determine what's most important to you about how you live your own life. Your values. And I saw many of you say one or two things, or many of you say, what about this? And that's the point, is you want to really take some time. Just ask the question, what values are most important? You can look at just your own life, but you can also look at other people. Sometimes when we see how people are living their life, it helps us trigger what's most important. Like as an example, I go to a lot of business events, and I get so tired of this talk of making money as the only focus. I don't resonate with it. And that's what helped me realize and understand that money is not a driving value of mine. And there's nothing wrong with it. To say that. There's nothing wrong with desiring lots of money. It's just not one of my driving values. And so sometimes by seeing what else is out there, what else is important to some people, it helps you clarify what's really important to you. The second is to determine what you're best at. And I encourage you to just be really humble but also honest. When I say humble, I mean, you don't have to be like, I'm the best in the world at making money, right? It's like, it doesn't have to be so like, I don't know, that's not really a good example. But like, what would be a better example? I'm the best in the world at, getting girls or something like that. I mean, I don't know, that could be a good example too. Maybe you could be helping other people get girls. I don't have a good example. But basically what I'm saying is you can declare something you're great at that doesn't have to be like you're bragging. That's what I'm trying to say. It doesn't have to be like, I made $27,000 last week. I'm the best in the world at making all that money. It can be like, I'm really good at making money doing things that I love, right? So determine what you're best at that's in your genius zone. And then I encourage you to simply ask this question and inquire into the creative expressions of this for you. What are all the ways you can start sharing your gifts with other people today? And just do a brainstorm. It doesn't have to be, I've got this all figured out right now. It can be a brainstorm, an inquiry. What are all the ways you can take these things that you're great at and start sharing them with the world? And by doing that inquiry, you can then start to develop the business strategies, the business systems that allow you to do that in the most effective way. Does that make sense to everybody? Yeah. All right. So I'm going to take some questions here in a sec. I just want to say a few more things. I want you to always remember that it's your job to create meaning and fulfillment in your work. That it's your responsibility, nobody else's. And that everything can be an expression of what's true for you. That it doesn't have to look a certain way. That right now, in the way that you interact with the next person you speak to, in the way that you structure your days, in the way that you write, everything can be an expression of what's true for you. but it doesn't happen without your conscious attention. That in order to create this, you must bring your clear consciousness to the equation and plug in what that is for you. And by being conscious of what these pieces are, then it allows you to really start to watch as your life unfolds with more meaning, more purpose, and more impact. Now, what I'd love for you to do, besides saying, a few things to me here, is to go and share your comments on our Facebook page. Go to facebook.com/bigvisionbusiness and share, what is it that you're taking away from this? What is it that is the main point of transformation for you from today? Go and share your comments with us, your thoughts, your quotes, anything that struck a chord. I would like to hear it from you, and I would even encourage you there to ask more questions about what this can look like for you, or maybe places you're feeling stuck, so that I can be in a dialogue with you about this. This is such a concept that's near and dear to my heart. And then, of course, if you are receiving this for the first time, make sure to go over to our website, which is bigvisionbusiness.com, and sign up to be a part of our tribe. We have so much great wisdom and knowledge there for you. Now, as I said, before I give the winner for the Money Breakthrough Challenge prize, I want to just spend a moment talking to you about Enlightened Business Live 2013. This live event is exclusively focused on helping you activate your contribution. And what that means is not only getting so clear about how to position your business and create your business and design your business to contribute to the world, but also making sure you have the strategies, the business, the marketing, the product strategies that allow you to impact the most amount of people and make the most amount of financial abundance for doing it. This event's October 2nd through the 5th in San Diego. There's 7 main concepts we're going to cover here. We're going to help you develop a bigger, authentic vision than you've ever had before, so that something is driving you forward to make a difference in the world. I'm going to show you our very signature strategies for doing transformational marketing, so that your marketing is truly designed to transform people and move them forward to buy. We're going to help you create more purposeful influence, so that you have an ability to persuade and move people forward in a way that actually serves you and them. We're going to cover a lot about conscious, cutting-edge collaboration. How do you partner with people, whether it's promotional, co-creatively, or in a spectrum of partnership, to actually move your vision forward? We're going to talk about enlightened wealth. How do you create more financial stability? For many, that's very important. How do you create the wealth and maintain the wealth? Manage your money as well. And then we'll talk about legacy leadership, the way that you can actually create something that builds a legacy, which includes team, which includes culture, which includes the way in which you operate inside of your business. And then we'll focus on one of my most important, most significant topics, which is mastering your internal guidance, cultivating intuition in a way that really moves you forward. Right now, first wave tickets are available at an exceptionally low price. We're about 50% sold out of those tickets. So I imagine in the next few days, the rest of them will get eaten up. I strongly encourage you, make the decision right now, today, to attend this event. Go grab your seat before these first wave tickets expire, which means the price goes up, as well as the fact that there are some extra special benefits for you for doing it. Go to enlightenedbusinesslive.com right now and make your decision to join us. Oh, I gave it away. I hope you didn't see that. All right, and hope you didn't see that. But now I'm going to give the drum roll of who won the Money Breakthrough Challenge contest. And this is someone who showed up every single day, listened to every challenge, took daily action, and really took took some powerful strides forward to transform her life and her business. So congratulations, Pamela, for winning the $1,000 cash prize. Let's see, are you here, Pamela? Let me see if you're here. That would be pretty cool if you were here. Trying to see. Are you here? Let me know, Pamela. No. Concierge? Could say, wow, there's lots of Pamelas. No, doesn't look like it. All right, well, congratulations, Pamela. We are grateful that you showed up so powerfully. All right, my friends, let me take some questions now. So go ahead and type into the box any questions that you might have, and we'll spend 10 minutes or so to answer any questions you have about anything. So give me a moment to look in the box here. Great. So Eva asks, how do I start becoming a well-known authority as a philosopher, artist, writer, healer, preacher? Well, the greatest thing I could tell you, Eva, is to begin to get really clear on what it is that you stand for. This is always the question I ask people. What is it you stand for? And by getting clear on what it is that you stand for, which many of these ingredients touch on, it allows you to start to harness that power of that message and communicate it consistently everywhere that you go. You see, getting well known is not something that happens overnight. It doesn't have to take a long time, maybe a year, to get really well known. But what's important is that you're clear on the way that you're communicating what you do so that people really get it. And the way that people really get it is when they're clear on what you stand for. So I would ask you, Eva Maria, to inquire into what you stand for. And when you can clarify what that is and begin to communicate it consistently with power, with enthusiasm, with courage, you do start to get known and respected for doing what it is that you care about. And of course, I would say that if you want to not only dive deeper into that dialogue, but get the marketing strategies to get it out into the world, come hang out with us live. All right, so Mary says, when determining what's most important, how we live our lives, does it have to be something that we currently have, or a vision, desire, or a vision? Almost need of something that we want. Or is it something that we want? For example, I want a house of my own design. This has become over a decade of deep hunger. Is this something I should plug into determining what is most important to me, how I live my life? Yeah. So, Mary, let's take something, an external desire like this house you have. And there's three things that I would say. And this is what we do here in my household. The first thing I would ask is, how do I start living this now? You know, one of the things that we always do is we kind of push aside these desires as something that we have to get to in the future, like it's not already possible to be here now. And so the first question I would ask you is, what's possible for you to begin to create the house that you desire and love most now? What could you do if you decided that it was available to you now? What would you do? What would you shift? So that's the first thing, is to begin to live it more fully. Like, you know, I'll tell you this, and I still have this challenge sometimes. I've had a really stressful relationship with money for a lot of my life. And it's not because I've had a shortage of money even, which is quite a paradoxical thing, right? I've always been able to provide for myself because I'm good at making money. So one day I decided to ask myself the question, what if there was no such thing as getting someplace with money? You know, $1 million in the bank, $3 million in the bank. Like, what if that didn't matter? What if what I had or what I wanted was already here? Well, how would I live my life? Hold on, I'm going to close my door in 1 sec. Give me 1 moment. Thank you. So my answer to that question was that, well, the first thing I would do is I would start creating more space for my spiritual life. I would stop working so hard, and I would start taking more time to focus on what's really important to me. I would also book more trips to go on my spiritual retreats, which are also very important to me. And when I shifted the focus to kind of asking the question what I could do now, based upon if I had everything I wanted, I realized that one, my first thing didn't require anything except for a change in the way I operated. And the second was that these spiritual retreats actually weren't very expensive. I was just putting this excuse in my mind that I couldn't go and I couldn't take time away and anything else. And by doing those shifts, then it led me to the third piece of this equation, which is by living my life more fully in alignment with what was most important to me, I actually started to feel better, make more money, and do more of what I love, which made me more magnetic to the people I was serving. And business started to accelerate, and I stopped having to work as hard, right? And so when you ask yourself these questions, how can I do this now? What would happen if I was living as though this was already available? You then can start to achieve these things instantly. But the second part of that, I would say also, is then you might need to create this plan of how am I actually able to save in order to achieve this vision? How is it that this thing that I desire actually comes to fruition? And that's just a planning thing. You know, it's a planning thing that you kind of put in the eyes of God and you see what unfolds. But I would say that the first most important thing, ask yourself the question, no matter what the thing is you want to attain, how do I live it now? All right. Let me see. Just looking through the questions, guys. Let's see here. Stacy asks, how can I stop the worry about the anxiety of the results? And gosh, what a great question, Stacy. So I'll share with you my experience here. Have you ever noticed that no matter what you achieve, positive or negative, the next thought is what's next? You know, if things are not going well, you're asking, how do I get out? How do I get out? How do I get out? How do I be someplace different? If things go well, you're asking, how do I go bigger? How do I do the next thing? How do I achieve the next experience? How do I move forward? You notice that the reality is the mind is never satisfied. When you realize this, it starts to transform what your intention is. It's not to achieve something else or to get someplace different. The work actually becomes to start to be completely okay with where you are. There's a shift in energy from getting something or achieving something to being someone now. So the question that I always take into my own inquiry is, what's really happening underneath the surface? What's really going on? So you might say, I'm anxious about results. Okay, well, that's not really what you're anxious about. What's really happening? You might say, well, then I'm anxious about paying my bills. Okay, good. So what is it that you're really anxious about around paying your bills? And then you might say, well, I'm anxious about the embarrassment of being seen as somebody that can't provide for themselves. You say, okay, good. Maybe even go a little deeper there. Where does that come from? And then maybe what you do is you keep going until you realize that this whole thing comes back to the fact that, maybe your parents didn't treat you well. And you've created this deep-seated fear that if you couldn't provide for yourself, you would feel just like you did when you were a little kid. And by coming to that space of awareness, you can realize that right now you're no longer a little kid. You're an adult that is providing for yourself, that is taking care of things, that is doing a pretty good job of being an adult. And the reason I say that is because then the anxiety and the frustration, the energetics that's showing up that is preventing you from enjoying your life and from getting better results. I'll tell you, what you do is not what gets the results. It's how you do it. Then the way that you show up becomes that much smoother, more fluid in the world. That's what creates the results and changes the repercussions of what you're doing. So you've got to start to inquire into the energetics of what's happening. And by doing that, it allows you to then not only let go of the attachment to the outcome, but also to show up with that much more ease and grace. I hope that was useful. All right, I'll take one more. Oh, good. All right, here's the final question I'll take today. It says, how do you decide where to devote your energy if you have two of what appears to be contradictory business visions? I'm the kind of person who gets bored with one thing, and I get it. I'm one of the most creative people I know, so I'm constantly wanting to do lots of different stuff, lots of different things. And what I've found, first and foremost, is that oftentimes we are drawn between what we think is a good opportunity or something we should do or something that's, something other people think would be great versus what I am most aligned with. What do I really feel is true for me? So the first thing I would do is I would invite you to take some time to listen. Are these things equally as exciting? I would probably tell you the answer is no. What most people find is that there is something that you feel most called to do, most excited to do, because it's most aligned with what's unique to you. And maybe there's elements of this other thing that you would be interested in, but maybe you could bring that in. And then, for example, with Big Vision Business, you might say it's one thing, but we've got this live event and these multiple different programs and these really, interesting projects we're working on. It all has a similar focus, but there's many different expressions of it. And a lot of times, why people don't decide to focus in a particular direction is not because they resist the focus. It's because there's something deeper going on that's having them second guess what's really true, what's really what they want to be doing. So I would encourage you, Eileen, to inquire a little deeper. What's really true for you? What is it you most desire to do? And can you bring elements into that as well? Yeah. All right, my friends, that's our time today. Again, this is a very soft but powerful suggestion to invite you to come spend 3.5 days together. 3.5 days we will be spending time focused on making sure you are clear on the way to manifest your big vision and clarify what that really is. How to design marketing that moves it forward. How to be influential to really motivate people to be a part of what you're doing, both from a client standpoint, but also from a support standpoint. How to collaborate with others. How to create more enlightened wealth so that you are financially secure and utilizing your money to serve your mission and your life in the world. How to be a leader that leaves a legacy and something that's great well beyond your years. And how to master this guidance system that you have inside of you that's not very polished for most, so that you know how to utilize your own best wisdom to move you forward. Right now, at least until they're sold out, which will happen in the next few days, you have first wave tickets available, which means you can come at a very, very affordable price. Head on over to enlightenedbusinesslive.com. Sign up today and join us. It'll be worth every moment of your time, your energy, and your experience. And again, if you had some more comments or questions, please visit our Facebook fan page, which is facebook.com/bigvisionbusiness. Thanks for your time, everybody. I hope this was valuable, and I'll see you again really soon, hopefully at the live event. All my love to you.